Hello, dear friends. It's Romania Black, and welcome to the 2024 edition of JanuYaoi! Yes! So, on my channel, I have a tradition. Every January, we spend 4 weeks looking at installments of yaoi-based things, whether they are reviewing a mangaka's work, whether they are reacting to an anime, looking at a manga, or just talking about a theme surrounding yaoi. And why JanuYaoi? Well, other than the pun with the month, January is the worst month of the year. It's a wonderful time of seasonal depression, it getting dark at 4 p.m., perpetual cold, and there's nothing to look forward to. So, now that the holiday season is over and New Year's has come and gone, it's basically time to suffer through the month of January, so why not make it fun and celebrate with my favorite genre, which is BL, so yeah. Now, the rules of JanuYaoi are fairly simple. If it was recommended by a patron or a YouTuber, the entry for JanuYaoi must be something short, something that I can watch in like one sitting, or it needs to be a short manga series that I can read fairly quickly. It's not going to take me a month to get through and do a review over it. It also needs to be something that is BL themed, although I have opened it up to GL. Maybe we'll have February at some point. I don't know. But I prefer yaoi at the moment. And it needs to have some kind of BL context. It doesn't have to be outright yaoi. It can be spicy. It can be weird. It can be fluffy. There's really no requirement other than it needs to be BL, needs to be fairly short, and something that I can read in a short amount of time to do a review over it. So I look at a lot of recommendations from YouTubers and patrons, and I don't exactly remember who all recommends things, but I had this series recommended to me, and I decided to choose it based on the image on Crunchyroll that they give us. The fudge. What is this? It's some weird llama-looking thing that's holding a cinder block, has a bandana wrapped around its head, and there's a guy next to it. I've read Sex Pistols, so I think I've suffered through the worst that BL can give us. I could be proven wrong today. I don't know what to make of this. Either it's going to be really fluffy and wholesome, or it's going to be batshit weird. Or maybe it's going to find a middle ground. I'm not sure, y'all. What I do know is that I'm pretty excited to see this. There are 12 episodes that are 3 minutes long. Make that what you will. And then besides that, it is actually an ongoing manga series. I did look this up. I didn't look up the plot summary or anything like that, but it started in 2016 and is still going today. I'm going to, after I react to the anime, I'm going to go out and see if I can find the manga translation, read some of it, and come back and give you guys a basic review. But it was recommended as a BL, so okay. I don't know what to make of this. Usually every JanuYaoi we have something spicy, we have something fluffy, we have something weird. This looks like the weird entry for the year. Let's just start off with a bang, shall we? Jingai-San no Yome. I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna find out. So, it may be a bust. Last year I did a mermaid in my tub, and it ended up being more of like a soft BL with BL subtext. It wasn't really a BL. Not what I was thinking it was, but don't worry, we'll remedy that this year for JanuYaoi with next week's entry, but we'll talk about that later. In the meantime, I am pretty excited to see what all this is about. 12 mini episodes. I don't know. The first episode is called Jingai-San no Yome, whatever that means. So I'm excited, y'all. We're gonna watch straight through. In the link down below, you can see me react all the way through this wonderful little anime and then come back and talk about it and then talk about the manga afterwards. But yeah, I'm watching the Japanese subs, of course, but let's not waste any more time. We're gonna dive right in and see what the hell this is about. But we're gonna look at Jingai-San no Yome, and we're gonna look at that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's start off JanuYaoi with a bang. So we're gonna find out a little bit more about this series. I will go ahead and tell you the next 2 weeks are definitely the 4th week included. The next 3 weeks are definitely BL and yaoi. This was the one I was like, we're going to go with this one first and see what it is, because it's the one I'm least knowledgeable about. And now I'm going to go and check out the manga for this so that when I come back, I will be even more knowledgeable. Welcome to JanuYaoi, where we're going to start off not watching a yaoi. Why? Oh my gosh. I guess, is it a yaoi? Not really. I feel like I've been bamboozled again. Last year I was bamboozled by Mermaid Man in Our Tub, which presents itself like a yaoi, but then you watch it and it's just like really soft BL subtext, but not really any context. This though, I think this was a josei, which is targeted at a female audience, which is interesting enough. This was such a weird entry, and I do feel it's a little bit like Sex Pistols, which I watched in the very first JanuYaoi, which will go down in infamy as being one of the most bizarre things I've ever read and watched, because I just went into a deep dive trying to find out as much as I could about this series, and unfortunately, there's not much that's been translated into English. Not a whole lot. The most I could read, it's not available or licensed, which is a sad thing. I should get a hold of 7 Seas and be like, can you guys license this so I can do an official review of it? But there are 14 volumes of it right now, which is insane. There are only 3 translated into English, which really sucks because there's some cool covers. There's like a little mermaid-looking girl that is one of the creatures, whatever. I feel like it gets into BL territory for some people because in the 3 volumes that we get, all of the monster characters, the inhuman characters, are male, supposedly. But then I guess later in the manga there's some female characters presented, but there's also a big twist, which we'll talk about here in a second, that I was like, oh, all of this makes sense now. But here's the thing. This is a very misleading series. Not only as we saw in the anime, it's freaking hilarious. I'm absolutely just in awe of how funny it is, because it takes so many tropes of romance and so many tropes of like what we normally see with couples, and it just completely makes fun of it and completely plays with it, and the idea of how shallow some of the characters can be. And the 3 volumes that I read, you kind of get attached to these monsters because they are like so like one-dimensional and cute. The one that has the most going for them is Tsukitsuka. Tsukitsuka is the mummy. The mummy is my favorite because it can actually write and communicate in the story, which leads to a lot of jokes because it can write on its little sketch pad and it has different things that it says. It is by far my favorite animal. Kananogi is just this blank slate. It's just a furry thing. That's all it is. So let's talk about this. So Hinoa Tamari is 16 and becomes part of this brides club. All these monsters have chosen them as brides. And I know what you're thinking. And I'm going to go ahead and give the reveal because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking what I was thinking. You're like, oh, this is really uncomfortable because they're 16, they're not of age, they're married to these creatures. I'm going to answer some questions for you, basically. They're married to these creatures. Like, isn't this inappropriate? Isn't this gross? Aren't all the people going to come at the yaoi being like, this is why yaoi is wrong because they're underage kids and they're married to these monsters? First of all, this is like a very sexless manga. There is like no romance actually at all. It's all fluff and it's making fun of romantic tropes in anime and manga, which is hilarious to me. So there's that. There's no actual yaoi going on in this thing, just so you know. It's mainly a comedy series and it's making fun of a lot of tropes, which I'm going to show you guys a lot of screenshots that I took from the 3 volumes that I read. But I was trying to find everything that I could because there's not a lot out there, at least in English. I'm sure in Japan there's like more context to all of this. But someone did explain, because I guess people were getting really worried about it, being like, am I comfortable reading this manga about these teenage kids that think they're in love with these monsters and they're monsters? The monsters could care less. I was like, what is the deal? Because they talk about a family registry. They talk about them getting married. The adults seem very happy that the kids are getting married to these monsters. I'm like, what are you all expecting? And there's not a whole lot of monsters in the world. They're just here and there. They're just kind of just around the few that are available. We'll talk about the snake. But it's like there's not a whole lot of them. So I was like, what is going on? Why are the adults all okay with their kids getting married to these monsters when they're kids? Like, what is the deal with that? Apparently someone finally explained it, because I guess people were getting weirded out beyond all reason. The thing about it is, they're not real marriages. These wealthy Japanese families are adopting these kami, or monsters, into their family as a form of legal tax evasion. Since the government in this story has all these tax loopholes for families with multiple species. So everything else has been a massive misunderstanding. It's apparently revealed later on that these kids think they're in marriages with these monsters, but their families are just doing it to get a tax loophole and a tax write-off. And it's... what? I feel like this type of surprise is the type of like, okay, the rug's been pulled out. That's what it is. Okay, that's hilarious. I'm all here for it. Because I'm like, you have like these characters that have like their own houses and stuff and all this. I'm like, they seem pretty well off. And yes, they are. And their families are using it as a tax write-off. Which is hilarious because the girl, we find out about the snake and their wife, who is a girl, and she's the daughter of a temple monk. So I'm like, the temple owner's getting a write-off. I'm like, oh my God. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's hilarious. It's making fun and parroting so much of romantic tropes in yaoi, in josei, and other things. It's really funny. Sex Pistols weirded me out a few years ago when I read it, and I was like, ugh. And Mermaid Man in My Tub was not really romantic at all. It was just cutesy, which I was like, oh, that's fine. The fact that Suda was voicing a little snail was the best part about that whole series. This is genuinely weird. And weird in a funny way, where it's very self-aware and it's making fun of itself, and the artwork is so adorable and hilarious that you can't help but laugh. Like some of the expressions on the monsters' faces, because they just look dead inside half the time. They're just like, eh. You're just like, So I want to go through some of this with you all, because it's hilarious. But knowing the cat's out of the bag, knowing that this is all a massive misunderstanding by these teenage kids who believe that they're married to these monsters, that is hilarious. Because yeah, they don't actually do anything romantic. This is not like bestiality or anything like that. No, these monsters are very unaware of what's going on, with the exception of Tsukitsuka, and he's pretty innocent, like doesn't really do much. So it's like, oh my God, it's amazing. So yeah, they address in the manga that like Tamari, who is the main character, he doesn't really know Kananoge's gender. None of them really know the genders. Now, all of the monsters identify, most of them. Kananoge identifies as male. Several of them do. The two that are Riku and Noku and what is it? What are their names? It's like it's Roku and Nana. They identify as they. They're non-binary, which is interesting. But their wife calls them their husbands. So there's that. There's a lot of gender fluidity in this series and a lot of non-binary, and I kind of like that about it. It's sort of playing on the idea of what do I identify as a husband and wife, and obviously the wives are mostly male in this series, so that's playing on the concept. It's just a label, it's just a term, it doesn't mean anything, and so they kind of play on that, right? But they subvert a lot of tropes, like the idea that Hinoa has one futon and that's what they share, and he's just like the one bed thing, like, oh, we're gonna share a bed together, and meanwhile there's this monster just sitting there. Oh my God, it's hilarious. And then like the cooking for the significant other, like Hinoa makes this big old meal and he's like, I really hope that my husband likes it. And meanwhile, the monster just completely ignores the nicely made meal and picks up a concrete block and starts eating it. Like, just doesn't care. And then Fuai, which is the little pig thing, freaking adorable. Like, I could look at images of that thing all day. I'm going to show you all a lot of them. They draw him so cute. It's ridiculous. But there's a lot of discussion in the series about Fuai and Sakitsuka and the others being sexually harassed by the schoolgirls. Like anytime somebody follows around the monster that's not their wife, it's called sexual harassment, and it's just poked fun of how they view it. And then each of the partners, Fuai's partner, the one that is Sakitsuka's partner, whose name is Moku Saibashi. Oh my god, Moku Saibashi is maybe my favorite human character in the series, along with Sakitsuka. Those two as a pair are probably my favorites. Fuai's partner, who is called, oh my god, what is his name? These names are ridiculous. They are too much and they're intentionally long. They even make a joke about it later. But his name is, oh my god, it's like Hikurakawa. Hikurakawa is Fuai's partner. He is extremely clingy. He's a stage 5 clinger. Like, he instantly attached himself to Fuai and was like, okay, we're gonna be husband and wife. It's great. At least Tanoa was like somewhat questionable about it first, and then they were like, what's happening? Oh, okay. And then Moku Saibashi is a parody of the tsundere, except he seems gruff and like, but then he's instantly like all about Sakitsuka, and they call him a Oshikake Nyobo, which is a woman who forces their partner into marriage. Like, Moku Saibashi like instantly forces Sakitsuka to become their partner instantly. They have no choice in the matter, which is why it keeps bringing up the little notes that says, oh, I have a demon bride, I have a demon wife, I'm scared. They have a lot of fun with the little running gag of the message board. Like, they have a lot of fun in the manga with this, and it's probably one of my favorite gags because he just writes random things on it, and it's super, super cute, right? So, but they deal with that. There's a lot of like possessive behavior and jealousy tropes that are made fun of. And it's basically what I like so much about this manga series is that it's looking at all these romance tropes that normally are associated with female characters, and it's looking at it through the eyes of these 3 male characters, which is hilarious to me because normally it's like they're like, oh, these crazy ladies, and they're like romantic gestures towards the guys, and here it's 3 guys. And so it's like, okay, well, do you think they're crazy, or is it different because they're male? How do you view it? Is it viewed differently because of their gender? And even the adult characters all point out, they're like, you guys are insane. Like, they just point out that they're idiots and they're insane. It's weirdly cynical, but not in like a gloomy way. It's so bizarre, right? Because I was asking the whole time, I'm like, why is the government concerned about proving their marriage? Why did they get their own house and everything? And it's part of that whole tax evasion thing, which is why they have to have them prove it. That's why there's the loophole. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so bizarre and hilarious, right? Now, we do get a little bit of stuff here. We get the idea here. We get like little ID cards. I couldn't find one for Moku Saibashi and Sakitsuka, which was really frustrating. But here's one we get. It says, Hinoa Tamari is 16 years old. They are from Kita Jingu High School, Class 1B. They suddenly became Kananogi's bride one day. He's often dragged into questionable situations, so eventually he just got used to it. He's good at housework and easy to get carried away by fluffy things. And then Kananogi is a cryptid. Chose male high school student Hinoa Tamari as his bride. His main diet is construction materials. His fur is amazing. Yeah, Hinoa is obsessed with his fur, and it's just kind of hilarious. Love it. But I love the way they draw that, like, they just draw some of the expressions. They're really, really funny. Although Kananogi has these really sharp teeth, so it is actually a literal monster. So when it's like gumming his head, it's biting him. And I'm like, what is going on? What is happening? Now, Fuai, oh my God. Fuai is the cutest drawn thing in this whole series. You know that card game, Exploding Kittens? I don't know if you've heard of Exploding Kittens. It's a little card game, but the kittens have like these big giant eyes and faces, and they're like all pudgy and everything. The Oatmeal does a lot of cartoons with them. That's kind of how Fuai is drawn. It is freaking adorable, and it's the cutest thing I've ever seen, and I can't stop staring at Fuai throughout this entire comic. Like, they give him, in one of the EDs for the episodes, they show him in like a little raincoat. Look at that shit. That little thing is adorable. They put him in outfits the whole time. He's cuter than Pikachu. Freaking adorable. I can't even, it's just too much. And then I like the idea that they were like trying to answer the question of since Sukitsuka can write, they're like, well, can we teach Kananogi to write as well? The answer is no. Kananogi does not know how to write. Kananogi is a blank slate. Kananogi is dumb and has no thought process this entire series. And the main character is just like, oh my god, he loves me so much, but he's just literally doing nothing. It's parodying that idea of being like, oh my god, he loves me, he's thinking about me all the time. Not at all. No thought process towards you whatsoever. I do like that Fuai is the most like cognizant, even though Fuai is not easy to understand. But they like try to learn to write and he just falls over because he's a literal little cat pig. It's really cute. He also has a thing about his bald spot, which I think is making fun of men obsessed with their hair and everything and making fun of that trope, which is really funny as well. But the others try to do things that their partners can also do, and it works to various degrees. Like Hikurakawa tries to cook and fails, unlike Noah, doesn't exactly work out. And then we meet the girl. She is the daughter of the priest in the temple. Her name is Suikoji Yori, and her husband is the snake, and his name is Laurent Eckhart. Why? And I love that they're like, his name is too long. Like the translators and the mangaka is making fun. Also, Laurent's first appearance is trying to eat Fuai, which is tragic, right? Thinking that he's a piglet when he's not a piglet. I like this description here where it says Suikoji Yori is 17 years old, Akita Jingu High School Class 2A, a high school girl that is pretty low tension. After school, she helps out at her family's temple shrine as a maiden. She's a bit unhappy to be in a marriage that wasn't her choice, but she's proud of her handsome husband. And then we have Laurent Lotion Eckhart, came to the Suikoji temple as a son-in-law. Right now, he's working hard at being the Shintai, an object of worship. On top of being beautiful, his natural tendency to help other people makes him super popular. He's a creature can change his form into a Tsuchinoko size. Yeah, his big thing is that at first she's kind of embarrassed about him. She's like, I don't want to admit that my husband's this giant snake. And so he like transforms down to this little like Daruma doll style version of himself, which leads to some very, very cute artwork of him. And like he helps her do homework while he's in the tiny form. It's adorable. But he like just crouches down this little form, and then eventually everybody finds out, and it's like in the anime where everybody's just around the snake and it's no big deal. But what's fascinating is that she is like the most low key of all of them, including the one with the glasses. She's like the most low key partner, and again, we're subverting this idea of how genders react in romantic situations. Like in this case, the snake is all like pristine and pretty and everybody's super popular and everybody loves him. And she's like super chill, like, I guess, whatevs. My husband's super proud of him. He's pretty cool. Like she has typical responses that you would see in a stereotypical archetype for a male character. She has those, whereas the male characters in the story kind of react how a stereotypical woman would. So I imagine that the author of this is a woman and is just subverting all of these genres and all of these archetypes and tropes to make fun of them. And it's pretty damn effective, right? So the running joke, I like first of all, Sukitsuka makes a running joke that the snake's name is too long and constantly writes that on their pad of paper. But there's a question of if Yori is compatible with him. And so they have a big conversation throughout all this about how, you know, if they're compatible with the monsters they've been married to. Now, granted, these marriages are all hoaxes and the kids don't even realize it. But they talk about like their heights and personalities differing, and that's why you can tell if they're compatible. And the hilarious thing is like the heights are so super contrasted because they're monsters versus humans. But personalities, the monsters, like Kananogi has no personality. So it's hilarious when Hinoa's like, I just wonder if their personalities don't match. It's like, he has no personality. And I guess that's making fun of too, like the main character typically is kind of like a blank slate and they don't have much of a personality. So it is hilarious. What's even more hilarious is that the translators get super annoyed in the manga with how long and obnoxious all the character names are. Like the class president, his name is Tsuchikiyose Tetsushi. A mouthful. a mouthful, Tetsushi. That is his name. And it's like, I love the translator at the bottom of it's even like, this is stupid. Why is his name so long? But yeah. So I like that about Tetsushi though. There is this question, and it's even acknowledged in the manga, that they're like, well, why are you married to those two? And he's like, well, the two of them chose me. And Hanoa's character's like, well, marriage with a non-human, is polygamy not legal? And I love the two Roku and Nana, they constantly call the other wives, they call them average and so-so. It's like, you fool, you average wife. Like, the government clearly acknowledges each of us as half a person. And then, so that's why we can marry him, because we each add up to be one together. It's like, what? So, with the character of Tsuchikyose Tetsushi, one a name, they're 17, so they're in class 2D. They're a year older than the other three guys. That's why they're not in the class together. And he's like a high-spec high school student who got elected as a student council president the spring of his second year. He looks level-headed, but there are times he uses the student council's authority for personal use because his husbands are just too cute. And I love the fact that the husbands, Roku and Nana, are not really in love with Tetsushi. They're in love with his glasses. They just love his glasses, and they're like, oh, we love this. Because we get them. I love that they have the two wings that come together, and they're like mono-eye non-human twins. The government acknowledged the two of them make one. Different from the others, they are capable of human speech. However, their reading and writing skills are elementary school level. They brag about their high-spec wife, but it seems they're in it for the glasses. And they don't have a nose. They're great. They're not as fun as Sekitsuka, but Roku and Nana are pretty hilarious to watch throughout this. So yeah, they play with a lot of tropes throughout the series. I love that Roku and Nana consistently call the other wives so-so and average. There's this one comic panel where you see that Hanoa's artwork used to be really varied and beautiful, but now that they're married, it's all about Kananogi, and that's kind of making fun of like once a character in an anime gets interested in a love interest, they don't think about anything else. They're just completely obsessed with them, which is kind of funny. I also love this too, where the one character, Hikurakawa, him and Fuwai, he's like, I'm not really what people would call a capable wife. I keep thinking, are we going to be okay? Are the two of us going to make it? But I'm just so glad I married you. And it's like, it's treated so seriously, but the series knows it's poking fun with it. And you know now, by the end about the whole tax evasion thing, that it's all just poking fun. And the monsters are just like, they're like, oh, we get a free house. We get company, people like a companion, and you feed us and take care of us? Sure. It's kind of like if these characters thought that a Tamagotchi was their spouse. And you're just like, what? And they don't know any different. It's hilarious. Hilarious. They also try to... Now, Fuwai and Sekitsuka and Roku Nana have somewhat level of intelligence. Like, they, throughout the series, are clearly capable of thinking, of processing, of communicating. Kananogi is an idiot. Like, absolutely blank slate. It's like basically just a dog that can't think. Just there. And because Hanoa tries to like ask, like, when's your birthday? Show me where your birthday is. And it points at the concrete. And it points at the concrete. And so then, of course, Hanoa goes to the adult that got them married and was like, I need to know their birthday. And they're like, well, you know, we don't really know about that. We only know this little information sheet. And it's like their favorite thing is concrete blocks, and steel beams and plywoods are also acceptable. And then Hanoa, you know, instead of doing the logical thing and being like, well, why don't you know his birthday? What's going on? Isn't this weird? They're just like, oh, thank you for giving me this important information. Like, just... ridiculous. I do like I said, I think Moku Saibashi and Sekitsuka's relationship is my favorite, because you see in like comics like this, what I love about Moku Saibashi is he completely leans in to the like tsundere expectation, where you're like, oh, he looks all like tough on the outside, but on the inside he's completely like infatuated with this person. Yeah, they go like 1,000% with it. Like, Moku Saibashi is obsessed with Sakitsuka. And Sakitsuka draws like all these really cute drawings of him sleeping all the time, and it's really super cute. I like it a lot. But yeah, I do like this part where they're walking through town in the manga, and they're like, oh, demons. They're like, they say these creatures that are not human walking around are demons. Do you think that they are? And then Hanoa says at the end, being like, oh, I'd rather have both people and demons together. It's like, oh, like, are they demons or are they just monsters? They don't really explain how the monsters got there or what they do. We never find that out. It's just assumed. And you're like, oh, okay, all right. There is a really cute skating chapter where they go ice skating, and I didn't take a picture of it, but it's absolutely adorable, where Sakitsuka, his like bandages start to unravel, and Moku Saibashi like freaks out about it, and then Fuwai, they just throw him across the ice and they're playing curling with him. It's freaking adorable. So yeah, so volume 3 is the last volume that I got to. It was the last one that was translated fully in English, but the big reveal of volume 3 is that this other guy shows up named Makoto Kananogi, and Hanoa's like, wait, Kananogi, like, how do you know Kananogi, like my husband? How do you know that? And he's like, well, I'm actually the ex-wife. And you're like, what? So for a second, you're like, wait a minute. Kananogi was married before to another high school kid? What is this? What is this weirdness? How is this going on? And what we come to find out after all of it is that Kananogi is not the ex-wife. What has happened is, to go along with the tax evasion thing, the family got Kananogi to get engaged to Makoto, but then he left. So Makoto assumed that they were getting married, but what it was he was actually getting adopted as Makoto's brother, not his spouse. So this guy that thinks he's the ex-wife of Kananogi is actually a sibling, and Kananogi went rogue and then ended up marrying Hanoa. It was just chaos. I was like, oh my god. But this panel here encapsulates everything with this whole manga, because Hanoa's like, he's all worried that Kananogi's had like an ex-wife. He doesn't know about the sibling thing yet, and he's worried that Kananogi, if he's left this one guy, Makoto, he's gonna leave him too. And so he's all concerned, and he's like, Kananogi, I know I don't want you to break up with me. I absolutely don't think that you're gonna get back together with that other guy, but to think that one day you can lose interest in the person that you married, that scares me. And then Kananogi's just sitting there gnawing on his face. Doesn't even care. It is so... If you can go into this manga and this series knowing it's all a farce, it is hilarious. It is so funny. But if you expect this to be a romance or to be seriously a BL, nope, it is not, unfortunately, but it is so damn funny. I absolutely love it. And so then, yeah, I just really like this image of Fuwai. So the whole situation with Kananogi having the ex-wife has all the other partners worried about their monsters. So they're like, well, do we know if they cheated on us or had a partner before us? And so the lady that gets them all together, she's like, well, the non-humans don't really have names to begin with, so some of them took the first name, their first wife's last name, just for convenience sake. And of course, Hikurakawa is like, oh my god, did Fuwai have a wife before me? Did you cheat on me with somebody else? And then the lady's like, oh no, I just gave Fuwai that name and made it up because it sounded cute. So that solved that problem. But then you have Moku Saibashi, who was afraid that Sakitsuka took his name from someone else. And I love how they draw him in this. And he's like, if there was someone else before me that he shared his life with, I will die, you know? And then I love that the other guy's like, oh, well, actually, he just picked some random letters off the signboard. He wasn't with anybody else before. And he was like, damn it! It's great. It's hilarious. And then we find out, of course, that they're actually siblings. And then so Makoto ends up sticking around for the rest of volume 3, but it's really freaking funny. Oh my god, hilarious. So about the whole deal with the twins, we come to find out that they just ended up with Tetsushi automatically. So we have the Valentine's Day. We have the Valentine's Day chapter, and just like in the anime, we did get a little bit more extra than we did in the anime. We got to see like Fuai and the one guy making little hearts. It was really cute. And then we got to see all the artwork that Sakutsuka makes for Mokusaibashi, which is really cute. And then this one was my favorite though. The twins, they get all of this like chocolate from all the girls on Valentine's Day. The funny thing is, like Mokusaibashi, he gets a bunch of chocolates from the girls, and he has to keep telling the girls, he's like, I'm a married man, leave me alone, I'm a wife. It's like really funny. But the twins, they make it a contest to see how much chocolate they can get, and Noah's like, oh my gosh, you got all this chocolate. Aren't you worried that they're gonna get upset that all these girls are giving them chocolate? And the president's like, it's fine. If I eat a single piece, they won't talk or look at me for a week. And it's like the twins are just in the corner like, he ate someone else's chocolate. Really funny. Like the twins have like a big issue. Like if he does anything with other people, they get really, really jealous. And then, speaking of them, I really like this one scene where you think it's going to be fan service, which when I first started reading, I was a little freaked out about because I was like, oh God, he's in high school. This is going to be really inappropriate. I don't know. And then it comes to find out they're oogling his glasses while he's taking a shower. Again, subverting all these expectations. Really funny. Really funny. The sleeping bag scene is just as hilarious in the manga as it is in the anime because you have this little sleeping bag next to Mokusaibashi with the little smiley face on it. They do a running gag where you can't get the smiley face back on right. But then, yeah, he even asks, like, I like that Mokusaibashi, they talk about, like, the harem trope. And he's like, well, what if I was in a harem with even more Sakutsuka? And then he gets mad because he can't tell which is which and he can't find the original one, which is really cute. I like they play a little trope about the harems with that. It's really funny. And then I love that one of the side stories in this, right before the volume ended, before I couldn't read anymore in English, one of the side stories is that Sakutsuka adopts a kitten. Like it hides a kitten inside of its folds of its mummy wrappings. And then Mokusaibashi let them keep the kitten. And they go on walks. They watch over it. And I love that Mokusaibashi gets jealous of the kitten because it's all up next to Sakutsuka. And then he's like, I'm dying from this pitch black feeling inside of me. Honestly, I hope that watching this insanity and hearing me gush about this manga, I'm really honestly sad. Like when I read Sex Pistols years ago, I did it because of obligation, because I felt I needed to. It was so batshit insane. I felt I had to read the manga. And then I couldn't read any more of the manga because it's ongoing and not finished. And I was very, very frustrated. This year, I'm frustrated for a different reason. And that's because the manga hasn't been translated all the way into English and I can't read any more or get access to the raw scans of the other volumes, which is sad. So hopefully if we all pull through, maybe we can get this translated into English. But this was honestly a lot funnier and cuter than I thought it was going to be. And I'm really glad that I watched this because it presents itself with some really adorable artwork. The tropes are really funny and how they subvert them. The stuff that I did read was a lot of fun. So I don't know if any of you are from Japan and have read the full series, or if any of you watching this has read the full series. I would be interested to know your thoughts down below because this, honestly, I would like to see more of. We just put it off in our unsolved mysteries file for the rest of this series. But dang it, it was really, really fun. I really enjoyed this. So don't worry though, the next 2 weeks for sure are BL yaois. For sure. I have been told that they are. So you know what? We're just going to ease into it. We just tested the water. They were tepid. It was lukewarm. Next week we're going to dive into something maybe a little bit more bubbly. And hopefully it's a BL as well. We'll find out though. So happy JanuYaoi. Welcome to the madness. Let's see what the rest of this month gives us, shall we? In any case, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care. And yes, I will be back very soon with more JanuYaoi. Bye.